it's Emily.
And Patty.
How are you? I hope you're all doing well. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about moving to Atlanta.
Yeah. And I know, Emily, you've lived here for about 12 years now. And so I'm just curious, what are your pros and cons of living in Atlanta?
Yeah, so I have a lot of them. A little bit of where I lived before Atlanta. So I was born in New Jersey and then moved to Florida when I was 12. So I've kind of lived all up and down the East Coast, which I think can really be helpful, especially because we have so many people moving from New York to Atlanta. So I think,
Yes, we do.
yeah, we actually have a lot of people moving from Florida up to Georgia as well, too, I feel. And a
I
lot
feel
of
like
West Coast over.
I feel like they go from New York to Florida and then realize that's hot and there's no,
Yeah.
and they come back to Georgia. I've
And
noticed.
there's too many bugs. Like we have just enough bugs here in Georgia. Like Florida's like a whole nother level.
You're right.
But let's talk about some of the pros.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of pros living in Atlanta. The number one thing is property taxes. I actually talked to my aunt in New Jersey. She sold her house a couple of years ago. And as we were going through the process, kind of I was helping her walk her through, from my knowledge here in Georgia, not the same as New Jersey, but just kind of talking about real estate in general. And she told me what her taxes were. And I almost fell off the bed.
Yeah.
I mean, huge difference. Her $300,000 house in New Jersey's taxes were triple my $600,000 house in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So put that into perspective. I mean, that's in your monthly mortgage payment. And that's just not New Jersey. I'm just picking on them because, I'm from Jersey, so I can talk about that a little bit more. But the property taxes here are really great. We are about a 1.44%, which is pretty low.
Yeah, no, that's definitely lower than a lot of the other states
Yeah,
for sure. And you say in New Jersey, from my understanding, I did a little research and I think they're the highest.
they are. So it just so happens that they are the highest. But
Right.
definitely look at your property taxes. If you're thinking about making a move anywhere, look at what those property taxes are going to be because you have to factor that into your mortgage payment.
And a lot of people don't.
They
So,
don't.
no, they don't really think about those taxes. And as we know, death and taxes are forever.
They are. They
So,
are. Yes.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
you really, when you're looking at property taxes, divide whatever that tax bill is by 12 and add that monthly amount to your mortgage payment. And so when you're thinking about getting qualified in affordable housing, which is something else that we're really known for here in the Metro Atlanta area, but when you're thinking about buying a house, you have to qualify for that mortgage. And so in New Jersey, again, for example, you may qualify for 300,000, and in Georgia, you may qualify for 800,000. It could be that much of a difference because of the property taxes.
And it makes sense. That's why we see a lot of people moving from California, New Jersey, New York, those higher price plus the higher cost of living, and then them moving to the Georgia area for sure.
Absolutely. No,
Mhm.
1000%. I mean, that's huge. So going back to affordable housing, we have a ton of it here in Atlanta. I mean, you can get a brand new construction for 400,000. That's a 5-bedroom house. Depending on what side of Atlanta you're on, definitely can change the amount of house that you're going to get. But we're really known for our affordable housing here.
Okay.
And all the big builders are here, so we have a ton of inventory always coming in. We have a lot of land here in Georgia that is still needs to be developed.
Oh yeah, we got at least 10 trees left.
At least 10.
No, I'm kidding.
But speaking of trees, did you know that Atlanta is considered like the treetop city, I think it's called? It's like really known for its trees.
It is, and it should be because they are big and they are beautiful.
They
So,
are.
you know,
So people say that a lot when they come and visit into Atlanta and we're going through, they're like, wow, there's a lot of trees. You have a lot of green spaces. And Atlanta is really like honed in on making sure that we don't lose our nature in the city, which I think is really, really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely cool
Yep.
that, I think even DeKalb County is known for like the greenest county, one of the greenest counties in the, I want to say the nation, but I could have made that up, but it is definitely considered one of the green cities for sure.
It is. Even with our infrastructure, like there's multiple projects that are slated to be coming up. And we have the Beltline, which is a huge value add and asset to Atlanta. And it's pretty much a trail that eventually will go around the entire city of Atlanta. It'll follow the 285 corridor. It'll be a lot smaller, but if you can think about 285, which is the highway that goes around Atlanta, the Beltline will kind of follow that and go all the way around. But they have some other projects slated where they plan on building parks over top of the highways. I mean, talk about innovative
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it.
Bringing the green space into the city. I think that's definitely a pro here. That we're all about nature. We're all about preserving, our natural landscape if we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And affordable housing is important, as far as just, being able to afford a home with those lower taxes and even insurance. Insurance plays into it too. And I know this is kind of a little bit of off subject with affordable housing, but I think it kind of plays into it because if you think about it, there's a lot of different places that insurance companies are pulling out. California, Florida, Texas. Because they're considered them catastrophic states. Georgia is not one of those. We've got pretty decent weather. We've got, don't have a lot of fires going on, not a lot of hurricanes coming in, those kind of things, which again makes those housing affordable, not just the house alone.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Four Seasons is awesome. I mean, our fall foliage here is beautiful. I mean, every tree is a different color.
Yeah.
You totally get to feel that fall vibe. And when you're in Atlanta, you're about an hour and a half south of Ellijay, which is the nation's capital for apples. And Mercier Orchards is also up there. And it's absolutely beautiful. You can literally go from one side of Georgia being at the beach in Savannah to going up into the mountains and picking apples all within one day. So I think that's a really cool, different feel, depending on where you're at in Georgia or the Metro Atlanta area. But fall's great. Winter's also great because you get winter and it gets cold, but it doesn't snow.
And doesn't last that long.
No, like maybe 3 to 4 days out of the year you'll get snow, and it worst case we have another snowmageddon, and if you don't know what that is, to definitely Google that. But one year we did have snow stick on the ground and the whole city shut down because we didn't know what to do. And luckily they know what to do now. They know they have to salt and brine the roads in order for the snow and ice not to stick. But
well, it's funny you say that because I've had clients that come in out of town and we're looking at houses that are maybe on a hill or maybe they're a little lower and they're like, what are we going to do if it snows? I said, you'll have a day off.
Yeah, literally.
Everything will close down and you won't leave your house because there's no reason to, because
it'll be a state of emergency.
Yeah. And so enjoy.
Yes, literally.
And if you have one of those jobs that you need to, you can obviously, park down on the street if you're concerned and being able to get out. But I just always kind of giggle when people say that, because I'm like, so you'll have a day off because that's about what it lasts. One day, maybe two, know. So,
but it will. You will have days off. It'll all shut down. State of emergency. I'm not joking when I say that. We will have
because we don't know how to handle it, and we don't have the ability. We're not New York. We're not set up for it. And to spend all that money on that infrastructure doesn't make any sense. Just close the city down for a day or two. So anyway. All right. What else? What else have you think of as a pro?
So I think the economy in Georgia is great. I mean, I always like to talk back about COVID, right? A lot of states shut down completely. Within 2 weeks of COVID, Georgia was back up and running. Now, whether you think that was great or that was too, gung ho, regardless, the economy was solid here in Georgia. I mean, our housing market exploded, the jobs, just everything. We just saw a really big trickle effect from us being able to be open versus other states that got closed. So we tend to be a very business focused state. We like, the economy to keep rolling through. We like to keep making money. And so I think that's really great. And it speaks to our job growth here in Georgia. So we're seeing about 55,000 additional jobs year after year, which is a lot. Think
That is
about
a
that. 55,000 more people can move to our state every single year and have a new job without taking, a Georgian's job, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's big numbers there. So
It is.
Yeah. So
Businesses love Georgia as well, for that reason, I think, but also because of the tax incentives for them.
Right.
Again, being very business centric here in Georgia, the government tends to really incentivize them to come here
And it's a right to work state, which always
Mhm.
makes it super easy for
for the
companies to
businesses.
start and be able to get it up and going, where there's other states that you don't have that there.
Yeah.
So,
When you look at even the movie industry here in Georgia, we have huge influx. We're actually produce more video or TV shows, movies, anything that you can think of than California. I mean, we beat out Hollywood because of our incentives here in order to get the film crews and the production companies. We have so many production studios nowadays. We have Tyler Perry's studio. We have Lionsgate that's moving into the totally just blanked on where, but Lionsgate is moving here. Douglasville. Sorry, Douglasville is where Lionsgate's moving. We have one down south in Fayetteville. We have one right inside of the perimeter in Atlanta in Chamblee area, which is maybe about 20 minutes to the city of Atlanta. So we have so much going on when it comes to the film industry.
yeah, that's nice.
Which also speaks to job growth.
Yep.
Which is great.
Yep. So we've talked about property taxes, weather, job growth, affordable cost of living. What is your last pro that you can say that living in the Atlanta area? What is that about?
All right. I actually have two because now I just thought of a second one.
Okay.
First one is the different areas here that you can go. If you want to go hiking, we have great mountain trails here. We have waterfalls, all natural waterfalls here in Georgia in multiple locations. Our lakes, which are man-made lakes, most of them, but they are huge and they are great and people love to go boating on them. We have multiple lakes throughout Metro Atlanta. We have farms. You can be a farmer here in Metro Atlanta. I know that sounds crazy, but you can be 45 minutes to Atlanta and be on a whole farm. So we have a lot of different areas of Metro Atlanta, which leads me to the next thing, which is our food. Oh my God, how can we not talk about the food? I love Atlanta because we're so diverse. It is called the melting pot for a reason. You can find any type of person, people, food, anything that you can want, you can find here in Atlanta. But our food is the best. And I don't say that just because I live here. Whenever we go other places, we always say it's good, but it's not as good as Atlanta. So I think we have a really good food scene here.
And you're right about the diversity because, and I think that does make it more amazing when it comes to food and just things to do around the Atlanta area. Because, you see so many different festivals and things going on. I know you've got the Japan Fest, you've got,
our Caribbean festivals.
Caribbean Festival. Yeah,
there's everything you can think of.
All kinds of, and that's true. I never really thought about that until you said that, because the diversity brings the food, brings the people, and brings the difference that you can enjoy and not have to leave the country.
No, absolutely.
And all. So yeah, no, that's a great thought on a pro and for the Atlanta area for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So with pros, there has to be cons. So you can't tell me it's absolutely perfect rainbows and unicorns, right?
Yeah. So we talked about a lot of different areas, right? How we can be in the
Mhm.
mountains, and then you can be in the farm, and then you can be at the lake, and you can be in the city, and all of that is great. But when I tell you our traffic is a little bad, it's just a little bad. It's
Is it
bad.
though?
It's pretty bad. I
It
will
can be
say
pretty
I
bad.
never thought about it um, until you think about like, oh, I'm just gonna go around the corner really quick, and
Mm.
it'll only take me 5 minutes. It won't. Everything in Atlanta, I always joke and I say this, but everything in Atlanta is at least 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
You don't feel like it's 30 minutes away. Don't get me wrong, my grocery store is not 30 minutes away. But when I'm going somewhere,
Mhm.
especially between the hours of 4 and 7, it might be an hour away. Okay. Perfect example. I live 15 minutes outside of Atlanta, in Cobb County. And on a regular morning, right? Like it's 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever. It's in the middle of the night, middle of the day, where traffic just isn't that bad. It'll take me 25 minutes to get to the airport. 25, which is
That's not
great.
bad. Yeah.
Not bad at all. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
If I was going to go to the airport at 5:30, it would probably take me an hour and a half.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah.
So the
Something
traffic
to think
is
about
bad.
if you're traveling, you
Yeah.
know, from like say Marietta, to the airport for
Yeah.
sure.
They
Mhm.
are trying to make it better, though. They have added a lot of express lanes in the last couple years, where you can have express passes going up the 85 corridor. So we have something called Spaghetti Junction, and it's called
Mhm.
Spaghetti Junction because there's literally a ton of different highways that are all going every
Meeting
which
up.
way,
Yeah.
like spaghetti. But up the 85 corridor now, they do have like an Easy Pass or a Sun Peach Pass. Peach Pass is what we call it. Easy Pass was New Jersey, so that's how you know I'm a true Jersey girl at heart. But but
Yeah.
Peach Pass. So we do have that going up a lot of the highways, and like express lanes where they're their own little thing. And so I hope over the next couple of years they will continue to build that out. They have talked about making a truck only like lane. So like big semi trucks
Okay.
having their own type of highway that goes around the city.
Yeah.
To help that, because if you didn't know this, Atlanta was called Gate City back in the day because it was the gateway to everywhere, right? If you were coming from the south, you could go north, west, east, wherever you need to go. It was one of the only inland places with a railroad. So typically railroad tracks only follow, the ocean or up the coast. And so us being inland was a little different, but I think that still speaks to us today. We have so many different places to go through Atlanta. I mean, we have the largest airport in Atlanta. And so hopefully they are working on that infrastructure to make
Yeah.
that better.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely needs a little bit of assistance and all, and we'll show a map of, what we're talking about. I feel
Yeah.
like, Atlanta is one of those cities too that it's so old that there was never really any thought in it.
Mm-mm.
You go out west, you go to Colorado, you go to parts of Texas, parts of California, which happened so much later in the history that, they kind of had just an idea of being able to go, wait a minute, that didn't work there. Let's fix it over here.
Yep.
And with Atlanta, the way it grew and all, it just kind of from the inside out kind of just
Yeah.
bloomed. And I just think that the infrastructure wasn't really thought of until now. Here we are, and we're like, what do we do with all these cars,
Yeah.
And they talk about, things that are coming, but I'm not holding my breath anymore.
I know. Speaking of the infrastructure, though, that leads me to another point. So in the city of Atlanta, the pipes are really old. And so we tend to have a lot of water main breaks. We tend to have a lot of plumbing issues. Now, that's something that they've been kicking the can down the road for decades, I feel like, replacing those. I feel
Yeah.
like the can is getting ready to explode. I do think that we're going to have a whole pipe overhaul of the city. And when I say that, I don't just mean, oh, this little city. the thing about Atlanta is it's very funny because you can be north of the city, you can be 20 minutes north of the city, and you're still considered Atlanta. And so Fulton County runs, it's a huge county, and it runs straight up and then straight down and over. And it's huge, but it encompasses many different areas, many different cities. And so it's not just Atlanta that can deal with that. DeKalb County is also the same way. Up in Sandy Springs, going into Roswell. Roswell has its own plumbing system, but City of Sandy Springs is on Atlanta watershed. So anything Atlanta watershed touches is part of their pipes, which is a lot bigger than just Atlanta. So
yeah, and it's time. Infrastructure definitely falters eventually, and unfortunately, I think everybody has the idea and the attitude that, well, we won't fix it until we need to, and I think we're kind of there for sure.
I think we are too.
Yeah,
I definitely think we're there. So with all of our nature that we have here in Atlanta, we also have, a lot of things that come with nature, like bugs.
Yeah.
We have a lot of bugs. We do. We have what I call centipedes. They're like gross little, like million leg little guys. We'll show some pictures up here.
Yeah.
House centipedes is what I call them. I don't know what they're called, but
I don't know the name of them either. Yeah.
Yeah. We have palmetto bugs, which are really just cockroaches, but for some reason we like to be classy in the South and call them palmetto bugs. But we definitely have those. I will say, if you're moving to Atlanta, you must set up pest control and do not skip it. Do not wait. Also making sure that you're having a termite inspection if you're purchasing a home. Now, if you're using us as your realtor, you will absolutely have a termite inspection. But if you're not, make sure you're having your agent order you a termite inspection. Termites are really big here in Georgia. The bug guys always say, like, they are everywhere in Georgia. Yeah. Termites are everywhere.
I've always been told you have the house that has termites and you have the house that's going to have termites.
Yep. Unless you have a termite bond. So we do have, and I know that everywhere doesn't have that. So termite bond, and we'll put one up here so you can see what a termite bond looks like. But it's just usually this green little thing that sits in the ground and essentially infiltrates the barrier of the home that termites don't want to eat it. And I think there's a misconception that if you have a brick home, you're good. You're not. They will get in no matter what. They have these little tunnels that they build up to protect themselves, and they'll find the wood in your home. So termites and bugs are it's, don't get me wrong, you're not walking into your house and like bugs are falling on your head. It's not like that. But it's something to be aware of and that you need to definitely take care of before it's an issue. As long as you maintain it, you have no issues.
Yeah, and we can talk about, we could get on this subject forever as far as, the termites and, what you need to be paying attention to. There was a time in the Atlanta area that we thought it was a good idea to do synthetic stucco, which we have now found out that that's literally termite heaven,
Literally.
Yeah.
It's styrofoam. So if you think about
styrofoam, and they're just eating through the styrofoam.
Yep. And then there's just a hard coat on the top of it. And so it's just styrofoam behind it. So we have actually a couple building products like that here in Atlanta. Polybutylene piping.
That's true.
Was a big thing here in Atlanta in the 90s. Which corrodes a lot and has major issues. So if you're ever looking at a house that has polybutylene piping, you definitely need to get the whole house replumbed. You're usually talking about $8,000 to $10,000 there, depending on the house size. If it's a really big house, it'll be more. But keep that in mind. Atlas.
I had my rental had polybutylene, and before selling it, I had to replace all the piping prior to it, and it was a small townhouse, and this was before COVID, so things were cheaper, but it cost me like $4,000 to do that. So just stuff to think about for sure.
Roofing products, we've had the same thing that comes up a lot with the Atlas Chalet roof. So and this couldn't be not just Atlanta, this could be in multiple places, but I can just speak to what we deal with. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Next thing that is definitely a con is our little crittly creatures, the
Yeah.
little animals here in Georgia. So depending on where you live, you may see different things. Snakes, for sure.
I've heard you
Um,
had a situation with a
I
snake.
did have a situation, and we'll show the video here. But a 6 foot snake decided to sneak into my garage and shed her coat and left it there for us to find. We never found her. We did find out that she had babies right prior
What?
to. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and so
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I knew.
yeah, and the snake people said, hey, have you seen any chipmunks? I was like, now that you say that, I haven't seen that chipmunk out front in a while. And so Chippy probably brought her over here, but she was a 6 foot long black snake.
6 foot long. Okay. I couldn't remember if she was 6 feet. I couldn't remember what
She
the
was
skin
6 feet. We measured her skin, which is even
Yeah.
scarier. So she was longer than 6 feet
Oh,
because
and
the skin shrinks up. And so but yeah, we did find that, so that was really great. Luckily, she was harmless. She
Yeah.
was just, a black rat snake. Say that 3 times fast. But yeah, so snakes are definitely something to look out for here in Georgia, especially if you're going up to more north, the North Georgia mountains. You're definitely going to see a lot more snakes. You're going to see black bears. You will see
They have
them.
been out crazy this year. I have
Yeah.
seen so many Facebook, like people I know, like going on vacation up into the mountains. And there's like so many families. And you know what sucks? I am a Georgia native. I have never seen a black bear like out in the forest. I'm like,
So I have a story for you. I was showing a house one time in I think it was Big Canoe, which is up north, and so it's in the
right.
mountains. One of my clients was looking for a investment property, and we're going to lock up the cabin, and we see a baby black bear, and we were like, oh my God, awesome. Well, right behind the baby black bear is the big mother bear.
Yeah.
And literally she was circling the house. You have to, if you haven't been up in the mountains, houses are can be far apart from each other. It's like gravel dirt roads. It's country in the mountains, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very
Oh, it
rural.
is. Yeah.
And so I kid you not, we had to stay in the house for almost 2 hours until the bear finally, and we did everything. We got made sounds. We tried to scare her. She knew we were there and she did not want us there. And so we didn't want to be there either, but unfortunately she didn't let us leave. So
Did you sell that house?
I didn't. He did not buy that house. He was said he was a little afraid for his Airbnb guests in that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, black bears are definitely a thing. Coyotes are a thing. I
Yeah.
live, like I said, 15 minutes north of Atlanta, and I have heard them in my backyard. I live on almost a full acre and on the back of a mountain, and yeah, we've heard coyotes for sure. And so it's kind of weird to think about you're that close to the city, and I'm literally 8 minutes from where the Atlanta Braves play. So we're talking I'm in it. Like I'm in the neighborhood. It's not anything like that. And we still have all those animals. Deer, we have lots of deer. We have all the things, all the animals. So yeah. So just keep that.
Well, it's funny. I sold a house in Buckhead. And it backed up to a river and ravine. And I'll never forget, we were out there, we were looking at the property, and there was a herd of deer going through the ravine up to the roads and in the middle of, basically, of Atlanta. So deer are everywhere, and it's no joke. They will jump out in front of your cars. Always tease and say that the vultures are telling them that the grass is greener on the other side, because with the dead deer, you get tons of vultures, but it's real. I mean,
I think it just speaks to the city really trying to be about nature and keeping our nature preserves and having trees and having green spaces. And with all that comes bugs, animals.
Yep.
And the next thing is pollen.
Yeah.
So, you know, all those pros of having green space is great, but then it does come with its cons. So the one of the things to do with that is pollen. So we have something here where we call pollen season in Atlanta. And I kid you not, again, we'll show you some pictures. Your car will be yellow. Your house will be yellow. Your
Yep.
outdoor furniture will be yellow. It will
Yep.
literally look like a yellow haze has set on your house. And it's only for like 2 to 3 weeks and then
Yeah.
it goes away. But if
But
you have
it's serious.
allergies,
Yeah.
you need to be aware of that, or you need to be overdosing on Claritin for those 3 weeks because pollen is real here and you will have yellow stuff everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, it is definitely real. And always, I can't think of that. There's a horror movie out there that's I forget what it is, but the plants are like killing people and making people kill themselves. And every time I see that yellow like dust in the air, I think of that movie. I'm like, are they setting us up for something?
yeah, they are. The snakes and the pollen for sure.
Yeah. So, you
I think
know,
one of the last cons of Atlanta is our public transportation. You know, we have so many good things here in Atlanta. We have so many places that you can go, so many different areas of the city, whether you're up north, down south. You know, there's a lot of different areas, but our public transportation, like you said, Patty, they didn't think Atlanta was going to be what it was. And so that was totally an afterthought. And it's very, very hard to put rail systems in and public transportation in when everything's already built. I
yeah.
mean, that would require billions of dollars of buying land that the city doesn't own and putting easements and all the different things.
Eminent domain, you
Yep.
know. Yeah.
And who wants that? I mean, at the end of
Right.
the day, we would love public transport, but I don't want eminent domain to affect private property rights.
Right.
And so it's kind of one of those catch-22s. I will say they have been saying that they have a lot of different rail systems that they're trying to come up with. The newest one that they've been teasing us with is a high-speed rail to North Carolina, to Charlotte, which I think would be awesome. They've also mentioned the Bright Line in Florida, putting that up into Atlanta as well, which I also think would be great. And I think there's a lot of benefits to that because, you know, we do have the largest airport in the world, and not in the world. Is it in the world or in the country?
I think it's the world.
Okay, I thought so too.
Yeah, it's
We
the
have a
most
huge
busy.
airport.
I don't know if it's the largest, but it is the busiest in the
Yes, that is true.
yeah.
But I think that those are all value adds to the city, to the consumers, to people that live here. And so I hope that they do make a push for some more public transport, but we also have to be realistic that
Yeah.
I don't know where they would put it. I don't know how
Well,
they
it's
make that
funny you
work.
said that because I'll never forget when I first became a realtor many, many moons ago, and I went to one of the, I don't know, you know, they're just trying to tell us about things that are going on, and they were talking about public transportation and taking these existing train lines and creating like from, you know, let's say Gwinnett County
Mhm.
and being able to like get on a train and ride it down to Peachtree City, you know, all the way through the city. And I was remember thinking, oh, thank God, yes, you know. And then as the years go, I'm like, where is that? Where is that train? Where,
You
you
know,
know,
we do have the Amtrak, so there's a lot of stuff that we don't think
we
about because we don't use
we
it.
do.
Amtrak, we do have that, so you can take a major train, you know, a lot of places in the country.
But I'm
Norfolk
just saying
Southern,
local. Like, you
yes.
know, from,
Yep.
you know, let's say you live in Gwinnett, but you work down in
Yeah.
Atlanta.
That
Why
doesn't
not
exist.
be able to, you know, take a train from there and clean up some of that 85 traffic, that 285 traffic,
Mhm.
you know, and
They do have it, I will say there. The northernmost station is the North Springs MARTA station. And it kind of goes like this through the city. It goes up
right.
north higher than it does south. But the North Spring station has I think it's free parking for 24 hours, and it does take you into the city. When I lived in Sandy Springs and in my past life, I was a waitress and a bartender, and I would take the train down because it was a lot less expensive than having to park my car downtown.
Oh yeah.
And it was simple. I mean, I would jump on the train, cost me $2, jump off the train. At night, it got a little sketchy. My husband would come pick me up sometimes, but for the most part, I mean, it worked. And so I think being able to make that larger, I will say, going into sports games in the city, you can jump on a MARTA and take that right into the city or into the stadiums.
Yeah.
But I think they just need to
Can't do
expand
that
it.
with the Brave Stadium.
Braves. Nope. So you used to be able to,
Right.
and I think the problem there was that every one of their, donors and everyone who financially contributed to the Braves did not live in Atlanta. And so technically, they like to say technically the stadium's still in Atlanta. Oh, but
Just blowing bubbles over there.
but
The
and so
balloon.
it does have an Atlanta address, but it is outside of the perimeter
Yeah. Right
in
on the
Cobb
perimeter.
County.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to me, it's you know, you can't argue with an address, but
Yeah.
it's a little bit outside of Atlanta. So
It is.
yeah, so it's one of those things. But I think overall, Atlanta is a great place to live. I
Mhm.
moved here when I was 19, I'm pretty sure. And I have thrived here. I don't think I would be able to be as successful as I am. My husband owns a mortgage company. We definitely wouldn't have had that in Florida. And so I think there's a
Right.
lot of opportunity here. I think
There
people
is.
in Atlanta genuinely want to see other people win. And it's kind of a different vibe than you get in other cities. When I lived in Miami for 1 year, and it wasn't like anyone wanted to help me. Nobody
Right.
wanted to see me, do better or lend me
Yeah,
a helping
it's
hand.
a different feel for
It
sure.
is. In
Mhm.
Atlanta, I think we're just nice. We're just good old people that like to help uplift each other, and see everyone do good. So I think
Definitely
overall
more
it's a great
pros
place.
than cons for sure,
Yep,
living in the Atlanta area, but I think you need to know them both, I think,
you do.
so, and that's what we're here for, to help people realize what it's like to live in Atlanta. And, if y'all have any questions, please feel free. Our numbers are down below, and we're here to help you guys in your next move. And then just
Yeah,
talk to us about, what you're thinking of, what's important to you, and we can definitely help you in the right direction of where that needs to to be.
yeah. So if you're
Mhm.
looking at a certain city, let us know. We'd love to do a scope of it for you. And thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and so you can stay up to date with everything else we have going on.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, you guys, we'll see you next time.